Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time of the day it is that you're seeing this. Welcome to my assembly. Um, it is in the Christian calendar at the moment the feast of the Epiphany, so I'm going to do the assembly today about the Epiphany. I did mention it in my Monday assembly, but I thought I would actually go through it. I've got a little slideshow to share with you. Next week, we'll start our collective worship properly, where we're going to be looking at the new school vision. So that will be really good fun. And we're going to be focusing our theme for collective worship all around prayer for this term. So we'll be talking about that. I've got a nice competition as well. It was going to be set by the new collective worship crew, but unfortunately all this happened. So we still have Riley as our sole member of the collective worship crew. So we will, as soon as we get back to normal, we'll get recruiting again. And so I thought I would start the work I was going to do with them. We'll start that next week, but it'll have to be in a different way through remote learning. So anyway, let's get started on our assembly about Epiphany. Welcome. I'm going to attempt to share this now on here, and hopefully it should come up on the screen. It worked when I tested it. So hopefully you should see a screen appear. It should say Epiphany on it, and we have a bit of a picture clue here about the Epiphany. So what I want you to do is pause the video, have a think about with people around you what your ideas are. What do you think? What do you know already about Epiphany? Okay, so there's a bit of a picture clue here. So I'm sure a lot of you said it was to do with the three wise men who traveled from the east to see the baby Jesus. The Epiphany is the festival that comes directly after Christmas. And so it celebrates, yeah, definitely something to do with the wise men. So that's quite interesting. Let's actually have a look at it in a bit more detail. So that's what we're going to look at, obviously, today, is to understand what Epiphany celebrates and to know a bit more about the story of the Epiphany as well. So the meaning, the word Epiphany comes from the verb to appear. The Feast of Epiphany is celebrating the baby Jesus being seen or appearing to the visitors who had travelled to see him. I'm sure you can all guess which visitors we're talking about when it comes to Epiphany. We had a little picture clue just now. Yes, it's the three wise men, or the wise men as it says in the Bible. Do you know any other visitors that came to see the baby Jesus? I'm sure you all have guessed it. Yeah, the shepherds. Definitely they were the ones that came as well, but they came before the wise men. So let's find out more about the wise men, these visitors. So who were these visitors? A long, long way away, there were some wise men studying the stars with their telescopes. One night they saw an interesting star, very interesting indeed. So in those days, they didn't have things like sat navs like you or I have in cars or mobile phones to get around, or even when I was a child, we didn't have sat navs or anything like that. So we used maps, and I'm sure your parents would have done that as well. Yeah, in those days, we're talking a long, long time ago, a couple of thousand years ago. People would use the stars to get around because they were obviously a fixed point in the sky, and they'd be able to use that to plot the way around. And very learned people studied the stars and predicted the future based on the constellations. So that's the little patterns that the stars make up in the sky. And much faith was put into the position of the stars and their meanings. So these men lived in the east, so they were very, very possibly from Persia, which is now called Iran. And Iran, if you try and imagine, that's quite far away. So, a little bit further away from Jesus's country. So we're talking a lot of miles and miles away. Did you know, little fun fact here, the wise men are often called magi, which was a word given to describe priests and clever men. And it does look like in the pronunciation of it, it's almost like you should call them the Magi, but it's not the Magi, it's the Magi. That's how you pronounce that. Okay, so let's move on to the star. The wise men were very clever and understood the religious writings that had been written many years before. These religious writings told them that one day there would be a great star, and the star would mean that a new king had been born. So the men decided to pack up their belongings and follow the star to wherever it led them. So to do that, you know, that must have inspired great faith in them to actually just pack up all their things and go. They spotted this new star in the sky and they knew it was going to be something special. So they must have had complete faith in what they'd actually learned to go and actually do that, to travel such a long way, to go on such an epic journey, just to go and have faith in this. So there was no confirmation of it. They didn't say, look in the newspaper, because it didn't exist in those days. And go and look on the internet. That also definitely didn't exist in those days. To go and find out if underneath the star was this prophesied new king that would be born. So they had to really have faith in what they believed to actually go on this journey. So the journey would have been very long. It is approximately 1,000 miles from Persia to their destination. So yeah, I was talking a lot of miles there. And the wise men probably traveled on camels across deserts and over mountains in the very extreme weather. The star led them to the town of Bethlehem in Israel. What difficulties do you think they might have faced on their journey? Just have a chat with the person next to you. What sort of difficulties might they have faced on their journey? Okay, so now you've chatted about it. Some of the things that I thought about was it was probably quite hot in that area of the world. It's really hot. So throughout the day, you know, just trying to keep cool is very, very difficult. The nighttime in the desert there, it's very cold as well. It's extremely cold. So that's also another challenge, going from heat to cold. Feeding the camels, just making sure the camels were okay, enough food for themselves as well. I jotted down tiredness as well, probably quite tired, and also keeping the faith that what they were doing was the right thing, because that, you know, that they had no confirmation that this prophesied king was going to be there sitting underneath the stars. So they had to really keep the faith that they actually would, that would actually happen. When they got there, they would find this special child there. So the gifts. The star came to rest over the place where Jesus was, and the wise men brought expensive gifts for him and worshipped the new king. So the Bible never mentions how many wise men there were. And I did say this to our Foxton class when I was teaching them last term. But because there were 3 gifts, people often think that there must have been 3 wise men. But it's not necessarily true. So did you know that the wise men are sometimes called the 3 kings because of the expensive gifts that they brought? The gifts were gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Any idea what? I think we all know what gold is, but what frankincense and myrrh is? Just have a discussion with the person next to you. What do you think frankincense and myrrh is? Well, gold was a very precious and expensive metal. And I think they referred to they needed gold as a gift that was fit for a king. That's why they chose it. Frankincense was an expensive sap from an African tree, so it would be burnt to release a calming scent. Sometimes you get them in bath bombs as well. You get frankincense, and it's a lovely smell. It's really relaxing. And myrrh is like a type of perfume as well. So it's very nice, very unusual gifts. And I wonder whether Mary and Joseph would have actually seen anything like this before. Anyway, let's move on. So the Feast of Epiphany. The Feast of Epiphany is celebrated in Christian churches, usually on the 6th of January. So this was celebrated last week, but it obviously carries on for just a number of weeks. It's not a huge celebration like Christmas or Easter, but it's still considered an important day in the Christian calendar. We said there, Epiphany is also known as 3 Kings Day. So hopefully you've had a bit of a crash course there in the Epiphany and just thinking about that there. I quite like the idea of gifts as well. The wise men brought the baby Jesus some gifts on there. And at the moment, we're going through some very interesting times. We're on our 2nd lockdown where the school is partially closed. And I think this brings a bit of a unique gift to us as well. There's the things that we might not have been able to do in school that you're doing at home now. So have a reflection, just to think about what you're doing at home now. What's the gift that this lockdown is bringing you? So we could sit here and think all doom and gloom. Oh, this is terrible that we're learning at home and we're not in school. Things are not as they should be at the moment. But actually, we need to think of the positive side of things. So what is it enabling you to do? What's the gift of the lockdown at the moment? Just have a moment, pause the video, and just have a chat with the people around you. what is the gift that the lockdown is bringing you at the moment? Okay, so now you've had a chat about that. Maybe you said something about that your computer skills are improving because we're all mainly using computers and technology at the moment. So maybe that's a positive out of lockdown. Maybe spending a bit more time with your family. You getting to see a different side of them. Maybe you're sitting there, you're working maybe with your parents, and maybe they're turning out to be really good teachers at the moment. I know definitely my year 4 group are working really hard with their maths at the moment. That's the only thing that I've sort of really looked at in detail at the moment. I'm very impressed with the amount of work that's coming from the year 4s. So yeah, there must be either year 4s are really, really, really good at they're really confident at their maths and really enjoying it and going for it, or they're having some help from parents, and parents secretly have a real hidden talent for maths and are really, really enjoying it as well. So that there's a gift there that this lockdown is giving us as well. Maybe it's that you're getting to go out and do a lot more activity throughout the day, going out for walks and things, walking your pets, walking your dog. That's a gift that the lockdown is giving us, definitely. I did mention at the start of this that the Epiphany. I must stop sharing this screen actually. Let me stop sharing the screen so you can see me. There we go. So, yes, we did say it comes from the verb to appear. So something is going to appear. In this case, it's about the baby Jesus appearing to various groups of people. So one thing that's going to be very interesting starting from next week that is going to appear to you is that we are going to have our collective worship all about the new vision for the school. And when you start something new, particularly if you're starting a new vision for a school, particularly like I'm doing as a relatively new head, we start to think about what we'd like to do slightly differently in the school. And I'm sure you've noticed over the last 2 years since I've been here that things have changed quite a bit. And I hope for the better. I'm sure it is for the better. But I'd like to set out like a vision for the future, really, just for the years going ahead. And you've noticed probably now that we've taken away "Let Your Light Shine," because that was Mrs. Barnes's vision, really, for the school. And so we have a new vision that says "Grow in the grace and knowledge," and that's a quote from the Bible as well. So I'd like to share a bit more of that with you, and maybe next Monday you could have parents could watch the assembly as well. That would be really good. So we really get the idea of what this new vision is for the school. The governors have come up with the new vision. I didn't come up with it. I just helped them to come up with it. And it's a really exciting vision. I'd like you to have a look at, and there's some things that you can do with it as well. So we've got some really exciting competitions coming up for it as well. So yes, make sure that you watch the assembly next week, and we'll start looking at that as well. Let's finish our assembly with a prayer. It's a prayer of Epiphany, and if you'd like to make the prayer yours, you can say the Amen at the end. If you're not going to be praying with us, just sit quietly for those who are praying. So hands together, eyes closed. God of wonder, help us to have as much faith as the wise men who followed your star to find Jesus. Lead us down the right paths and help us to recognize Jesus in the people we meet as we travel through life. Amen. So that concludes my assembly, and I hope you have a lovely weekend. The celebration certificates are going to be awarded by teachers from now on here. I'll be watching that very keenly to see how that's going to happen. We're not doing the physical certificates, but that is going to be given out virtually. Miss Day is leading that, so that will be really exciting. See what she comes up with for virtual certificates. A lot of children are putting so much effort this week with their remote learning. And I look forward to seeing that. And please do invite your parents to next Monday's assembly, and you can watch it anytime that you like. It will be on there on the Google Classroom and on the YouTube channel. So do watch it, because it outlines what our vision is for the years ahead, and really exciting stuff that's going to come with that as well. So have a lovely weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all on Monday. Goodbye.